Hello and welcome to Positive Forward Motion. This is your host, Denise Scattergood. Each week, I deliver a topic in 8 minutes or less to help you have more success and happiness both personally and professionally. And once a month, I have the honor to interview someone who embodies the Positive Forward Motion message because I believe that we are motivated and inspired when we hear how others face their own fears, setbacks, and self-doubt and continue to pursue their dream one positive forward motion step at a time. So listen in and learn how Trevor Wallace went from telling his third grade teacher that he wanted to be a comedian when he grew up to a trembling 17-year-old who was given 5 minutes on stage and now is a successful 26-year-old who has been invited back to that same stage, but this time he is the headline act. Now that's what I call positive forward motion. So super exciting that I'm sitting here with you today, Trevor, and welcome to Positive Forward Motion, and thank you so much for giving me your time and attention. So, before we get started, just tell the listeners a little bit about Trevor.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. A little bit about me. I'm a comedian, actor, writer, kind of do all that stuff. I feel like you kind of have to be very versatile in today's age. They want you to do everything. So kind of do that. Started doing stand-up when I was like 17 and still do it today. And then mainly make videos I started making videos to get eyes on my stand-up, and they both just grew at the same time. So that's who I am. 20, about to be 26 in a few days. So yeah, I feel like for 26, I'm happy where I'm at, I guess.
Well, I have to say, one of the things that I got so excited to be able to interview you, I knew you when you were high school, grade school.
Yeah, I'd say so. Probably like 16-ish,
Yeah.
16, yeah.
And then I came across Instagram and I saw how well you were doing, and I saw some of your comedy, and I was just dying. And it made me fist pump. So a lot of times for the listeners out there, the people that I love to interview are someone like, well, my fist pumps, I'm like, oh my God, that's so great.
Right.
Because especially if you started at 17 and you're 26, you stayed in this lane. But from 17 to 26, that's a lot of years of staying in the lane. And a lot of people think that, success and things should happen overnight. And love, to me, this is the epitome of positive forward motion. So I think the first question I would have for you is, when did you decide? When did you just say, no, this is my focus, this is my passion, and I'm going to stick with it?
That's a good question. I think the first time I ever did stand-up, I was so nervous beforehand. And then after I got off, 17, I did like 5 minutes at Ventura Harbor Comedy Club, which is still like my hometown club. I'll go there to work out material as much as I can. I got off stage and it was like some euphoric kind of high, I guess, like of all this laughter, and I felt like I blacked out on stage. I don't even know what I said. But I got laughs, and like when I got the first laugh, I was like, oh damn, like this is the most, I think, the most, I don't even know what the word is, the most, not acceptance, but the most like approval I've gotten from anything, Like I scored like 2 goals in soccer as a kid. Nobody ever laughed or cheered that hard like when I was on stage. So like it was the first time I really felt like, oh, I could actually do this.
I love it. So it's like your addiction. So you're scared to death to go out there. But let's even back up, okay? You're 17. You have 5 minutes at the Ventura Harbor Comedy Club.
Right.
How did you even get there?
Oh, okay. So it's like a very Disney Channel story. They put out an ad in the paper that was like 6 weeks to stand up. 6-week class every Saturday. It's like 4 hours. Teach you how to write jokes and this and that. And then at the end you get to perform. So my mom cut that article out and like put it on my bed. Like that's where the Disney Channel part comes in. It's just so like such a mom thing to do. And I was like, nah, Mom, I'm not going to do that. Why would I do it? Because anything a mom does, you're like against it. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'll check it out. I remember the first day I like walked in and like I had some moccasin like slippers on, and like I was like really late, and I was like, I don't really care. And then there was an exercise where we took a newspaper and we wrote jokes on the headlines, and I just wrote what I thought was funny. And the instructor, who still owns the club today, Randy, who's a great guy, he was like, oh, have you done anything before? And I was like, no, I just thought this was like funny. And he's like, yeah, no, that's like the right joke structure. And he's like, fix this and that, but for the most part, like, you know how to write a joke. And I was like, oh shit.
I love it. I love it. So you got that affirmation right away, right? Sitting there with this guy. But then also going to back up, because being a mom, we often see things in other people, or in this week's actual podcast was on your gift, right? That we all have a gift that's unique, and sometimes we're trying to be all things to everyone. But your mom was gone, hey, you might want to go to this, because obviously as a mom, she knows you have a funny bone, right?
Yeah.
Did she know this was like a possible dream of yours someday, or do you think she was just kind of like, I believe in you, and this is what I see in you, so you might enjoy this? That's a random thing for your mom to put.
Right. No, I think characteristic-wise, yeah, it was one of those things where she's like, oh, I could see you doing this. But I've always loved stand-up, like, growing up. I've only ever watched comedy movies. That's all I really care about. Like, so many Adam Sandler movies growing up, like, shaped, I feel like, how I think today. And it's weird because I even look back on this, like, when I was in like third grade or something. Yeah, it was like a show and tell or whatever it was. Something was like, what's your dream job? And I wrote comedian. In like third grade, I was like, I don't even know if I was like 9. I don't know how old I was back then. So I guess like, I didn't remember writing that, but I guess so. That was kind of what I always wanted. And it kind of just came full circle. And how I got into it was super random, because I think a lot of people have different ways of how they get into it. They're like, oh, I just tried it at a bar. But like, I kind of feel like I did it the right way, because I got some training wheels on, and then I just went for it. And I got laughs, and I was like, this is great.
I love it. I love the fact that you're scared to death to walk out on stage that day.
Oh, yeah.
You get out there, you don't even remember it happening, because like you had this outer body moment. But as scared as you were and as fearful, that passion that it, got you excited.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So there you were, you walked off. Now, I mean, I don't know about you, but the only thing I can compare it to in a sense was, I remember when I was a kid and I wanted to skydive, right? So the first time I jump out of a plane, you just jump because you don't know any better, right? You're just like, oh, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And then the second time, it's like, oh, that was so great the first time, I have to do it again. And then the third time debilitated me, because I put 1 and 2 together. So the third time I realized everything that was going to happen, I was more afraid than ever because I knew more. Has that ever happened to you, with the fact that as you move forward, you get the approvals, then you have those moments of maybe your set didn't go so well, whatever you call when you go out. So have you ever had that debilitating, that kind of like, what am I doing? Oh my God, I can't do this right now, or what right do I have? Have you ever had that feeling?
Oh, definitely. I feel like I've had it in a few different instances where like I get booked on a show and everybody else on the show is like, I mean, this might have been like a year or two ago, and it still happens today, but I'll get booked on a show where everybody on the show is either on TV or like they're like big names, and I'm just watching their act and I'm like, oh, like I'm a hack. Like this isn't, like my stuff isn't funny. Like that's real comedy. And they're just so good. And then I'll just kind of get in my own head. And then by the time I go up there, everything goes fine or whatever. If, for the most part, hopefully it all goes well. And then I get off and like, so maybe one of the guys that I was thinking about before is like, oh yeah, funny stuff. And I'm like, oh. Okay. So it's kind of the overthinking it, and then kind of like just biting off more than you can chew. I think sometimes, like the first time I got offered a club to headline was a couple months ago, and they're like, yeah, you can do an hour of material. And I was like, I know I have an hour, but I was like, maybe like 30 of it I like do currently. So it was like pulling up older jokes and this and that, and I was so nervous because the owner of that club was in the audience. It was in Arizona, and she books 4 other comedy clubs, so she's watching the whole set. She watched the full hour, and then afterwards I got off. She's like, yeah, they loved you, and then she offered me dates at her 3 other clubs.
I love it.
So I was like so nervous, but you kind of just, you make it work. And I think you're the only one that's overthinking it. Nobody's really, because when you were about to go skydiving, I mean, somebody might have looked at you, you're nervous, and you're like, little nothing. But inside your head, there's thousands of thoughts. And I think with time and just trusting your own like sense is huge. I mean, naturally the human body wants to doubt you. I mean, whatever it is, that's for me, I feel like. But once you do it, it's almost like your nerves were there to push you on purpose.
I love it. I love that. So I want to say that one again, like your nerves were there to push you on purpose. And I'm going to steal that as a topic for sure.
Please do.
But that's such the positive forward motion. And also, I do some leadership training and such, and this is actually a John Maxwell quote that I love, but he says, go before you know. And so there you are saying yes to an hour, right? You didn't have an hour and a half already written out and done, but when you got asked to do this hour, you were like, okay, I can do an hour, and then you made it happen. So it's kind of that go before you know, but because the pressure was on, you put it together and you made it happen.
Pressure and a deadline, I think, are great, because you tell yourself. Because I mean, the reason I got that gig is it was a comedian had like a full week booked, like Tuesday through Sunday, and he had to cancel that Tuesday and Wednesday gig. And then she had been following me on Instagram, the booker, and it kind of just came up. She said, "Hey, can you do these dates?" And I was like, "Yeah." If I would have said, "I don't know if I'm ready," who knows when the opportunity would have come again. And I mean, yeah, she's got to respect the honesty, but also she's like, well, if you're not ready, then, they're not going to keep track of you in a year. Like, you ready now? You ready now? So it's kind of that put a deadline on it and work for it, which is better than if you're like, in 2020, I'm going to headline. In 2021, like, I think if you just get presented a deadline, you work harder.
Right. You have that opportunity, take it.
Yeah, when you put a clock on it, it's, I like being under a deadline.
The pressure.
So, yeah, I mean, it just makes you force and kind of just really tunnel vision on what you want to do and what you're supposed to do. So
if you had to think of maybe one moment that was just, I don't know, when I'm not fun, I love comedians and I watch oh my gosh, I watch your material, I die laughing, I watch them over and over again.
Thank you.
But I think there's times when I'm watching a comedian, they're up there and you're going, if nobody laughs right now, if nobody, I feel bad for the comedian.
It's awkward for everybody.
Like, exactly. Yeah. So maybe share a moment that was like one of your toughest.
I've had a few. So, I mean, seeing as I just turned 26, I'm pretty young. So if I do older shows, sometimes I'll do different material, but sometimes I'll be like, you know what? I'm a comedian. I'm going to stick to my guns. It's funny. So when I did those Arizona shows, I did the weekdays, and then they invited me to do the weekend to open for somebody else. So I was just the middle act, which is in comedy the best spot. You don't have to start the show. You don't have to finish it. You just come up, do 20 minutes. It's the best spot. And it was a fundraiser for a high school basketball team, and it was sold out in Arizona. It was 300 people, older. And I did a Trump joke right out of the bat, but it's not even about Trump. It's more so about how the millennials of my generation grew up on the internet. If we can handle this, we can handle that. And they just didn't like it. But I did it on my shows, and it killed. And then I did it for these shows. And if a comedian's first joke doesn't work, the crowd, it's hard for them to trust you, Because if they're that's why there's a big advice is always start with something that works. Mm-hmm. Just because you get a laugh right out the gate. But because I went out there and I was just oh, this was killing all for my shows. And then it just didn't hit. And then I'm 10 minutes into my set. It's a sold out room. And I'm am I bombing right now?
Oh.
Is this? And then I forget, I did an older joke. And then I have a bit where I ask, have you ever been 4 to 5 dates in with somebody? And that's when you find out something weird. That's a premise. And this girl in front points at her boyfriend. And he was wearing a fedora. And I was like, oh, is it because he's wearing a fedora? And then I got his huge laughter. And then I was back on. Okay. So there was a few minutes where I was I was treading water. And I felt like my legs weren't kicking anymore. And I was this is a sold out room. And I am not doing well.
Right.
So I kind of just ditched my script, played around with that for a little bit, and then eased my way back into material. And was more of a human versus a comedian, if that makes sense. I wasn't up there saying, hey, these are some jokes. I was up there having fun after that.
Well, I love what you just said right there, because it made you more human than a comedian. And I believe that success is all about not trying to be all things to everyone else. So that's that perfect moment. You're up there going, okay, I'm going to try to fit to this crowd. And then you're uh-oh, that didn't work. Why don't I just be real?
Yeah.
And being authentically you is what makes everybody love you, right?
Right. Well, and it also shows you're oh, this isn't written. This is improvised,
yes.
Which is huge. And that's why crowd work is usually so successful, because first, you have a microphone, so you're going to win. And people go, oh, he didn't write this. Oh, he riffed on that bachelorette party that walked in half an hour late, all off top, and that brings everybody together because everybody sees who you're talking about and everybody can relate to that. Versus if I'm talking about a dating app and there's an older couple in the crowd, they don't know what Bumble or Tinder is. But if you're making fun of somebody or you address something in the crowd, everybody's seeing it. Everybody can relate. Right. So it's like it clears the slate, and then you're kind of back to like, okay, we get everybody together. Just yes, you got to connect with the audience. If you're ever like starting to like bomb, I think it's like important to address or connect with the audience. So, I mean, a lot of comedians will just, there's two ways. If you're not doing well, I think there's the route, which I think everybody starts out with early in comedy. They're like, oh, fuck you guys, that's funny. And then the crowd, I mean, that's never going to win a crowd over. Right. Or you kind of make it about yourself and be like, yeah, I should have known better to do Trump jokes in Arizona. Yeah, I literally saw 4 Make America Great Again, koozies when I walked down. Like, something like that. Like, you just address it.
Right. And and know which way to go and to understand that, okay, you're not bulletproof. You're going to go,
right.
Okay, stop, adjust, think quick on my feet, which you have to think quick on your feet to be a great comedian. And I have to die because every time I watch the Whole Foods or the Trader Joe one, the Trader Joe face, I catch myself.
Right.
So for your listeners out there, you have to go watch because it's so funny. But when I see the Trader Joe face and I was watching, I'm like, oh my gosh, do I make that Trader Joe face?
That's my favorite kind of comedy is observational and just.
I love it.
Yeah. But
I love it. Do you do that kind of stuff? Like when you were a kid, did you do that kind of stuff with your family? Like riff on your family by, just bringing out some of those things that you noticed maybe about mom, dad, or sister that just...
Yeah, I mean, I would like... I was a typical little brother where I would just like make fun of my sister and just find something that irritated her and just like keep digging into that. Mm-hmm. Whatever comes to my mind is like my sister used to love the Dixie Chicks. And for whatever reason, I used to say the Duxie Chucks, and it would drive her insane. And I would just chase her around the house yelling that. So just like little stuff like that. But not so much as a kid. I always liked video stuff because like my dad bought a video camera, and I would just like make stupid videos like with me and like my dog. But I mean, I've always kind of loved the creative side, I guess. If that makes sense.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So oftentimes as we're following our dream and following our passion and the whole bit, we wind up gathering the right support system. So the first thing I'd like to know is, who's your support system? But then also, if by chance you had to, as I call it in some of my things, cut the arm off or remove some of the dead weight, right? Because it can be really hard for people to go, look, you're not serving me and my goals and my dreams as I'm moving forward.
Right.
But this is my support system. So I guess first start with maybe who your support system is. And then second off, if you had to stop and identify and remove maybe some of those that were holding you back.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest support, honestly, is my parents, which is... pretty cool because a lot of comedians I know, they're like, my parents don't approve of me. I've been on Comedy Central and they still ask why I'm not a doctor at the dinner table, this and that. But like when I told my parents that I was like quitting my job like half a year ago to like pursue comedy, they're like, yeah, we knew this day was coming. Like, good for you. Which was like the biggest relief. So my parents have a management team and like they handle a lot of my business side deals. So that's great that a company would invest in me. And then kind of just the other creators I work with a lot, whether they're comedians or other video people, and just like a text message out of the blue. Hey man, I saw your whatever video, like really well done. Like, just want to let you know. Like even if like somebody, I put out a video the other day and my friend called me and he was just like, I was like, hey, what's up, man? He's like, dude, I just want to say how good that video was. And I was like, that's it? Like, I feel like in this day and age, it would be like, hey, this video is so good. Also, can you help me move my couch on Tuesday? Like, they sugarcoat what they really want.
Right.
So for somebody to just call me and be like, that was really good, man. That's all I want to say. All right, happy holidays. And then hang up. I was like, oh, damn. Like, I don't even, like, it takes a lot to just, instead of just comment, just to call. Like, it's little things. So, like.
But that's a great message to the listeners because it's positive forward motion and my last name's Scattergood and I'm always saying Scattergood. I want to repeat that for anybody out there listening to remember to sometimes to just stop.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, don't hold it back. Maybe to call someone or send them a little note or a text message. Hey, I saw this. I noticed what you did. That was really great. I was just talking with a company the other day. I said, it's the holidays and we're giving gifts and this, that, and the other. And I go, think of the person maybe within your company or organization that gets the least amount of thank you or attaboy or whatever. And typically it's IT. right? Because in big
Yeah.
companies that I work with, usually the IT guy gets all the shit. Like, this isn't working, that's not
Right,
working,
right.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But what about all the other days when things are working? How about if you just stopped
Right.
and said, you know what, Nick, I'm just reaching out to say, because he's going to answer the phone, what's wrong? And you just go, you know what, I just want to tell you, I am 8 days free of having any of my IT stuff drop, and I want to thank you.
Right.
And you go, now, shouldn't always be self-serving, but on the other hand, isn't Nick going to remember that you're one to stop and thank him? So
100%. Yeah. Then when Nick has a meltdown and brings a machete to work, he's going to look at you and be like, oh, yeah, Denise said thank you to me. I'll leave her out of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
That's like what somebody told me. I was in San Francisco, and they said the person I was with was like, always smile and say thank you to the toll booth workers because they're the most depressed people ever. One of them, just because nobody gives them time of day. They're just like, here's my money. But if you stop and you're like, thank you so much, have a great day, they're like, what? Did I put on my makeup this morning, right? Or like, I think just like little things of just like anytime you genuinely feel like the service was really good or whatever. Like, I think when the term is the manager here is such a negative like connotation to it. Like, is the manager here? Like, oh, is everything okay? No, I just want to tell him how great Kelly, our waitress, was.
right.
Something like that.
That's rare. That's
Exactly. It's yeah. So everybody, it's unexpected. It's kind of like blindside when people ask stuff like that because they don't expect it to be like
and do the
good.
unexpected, and that ties right into you being a comedian, because when you
Mm-hmm.
sit down, so just recently for our team this year, we took them to a comedy club dinner show, right? So I get what you're saying now. I look at it differently. The first guy coming on, you're like, all right, he's the warm-up guy. Is he going to be funny? And he was really funny. And then the headliner guy, he did a really good job. But it's so true when you're sitting there, it's the unexpected. You're waiting. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what they're going to say. So how about being unexpected in our daily life of kindness or spreading good? But to get back to your support system, your family, the management team, friends that will reach out and all of that, along the way, did you have to remove or distance yourself? Because sometimes as we're working towards our goals and our dreams, that can be the hardest thing for people to do.
Yeah. I definitely want to get better at that. And I know some people, like, that's a very popular thing is like to cut people out that aren't adding or benefiting to, I guess, your vision. So for me, it was most like my version of that was I stopped following a bunch of like my favorite comedians because I don't want to be influenced too much, nor did I want to get jealous of how they were doing. So that's kind of like I asked another one of my friends who we shoot a lot of videos with. I was like, oh, did you see this video? He goes, I don't follow those guys. I was like, why? They're hilarious. I mean, I don't want to get a perception. If you watch too much or you listen to too much of somebody, you start to think like that. And he's like, why would I mean, good for them, but like, I don't care about their success. It's like mostly about mine. So in a sense like that, I just like all these accounts, I kind of just stopped following because they weren't adding to my vision unless they wanted to collaborate on something. But other than that, I was just like, why do I need to see all these videos and pictures of these guys just crushing it in their life? I was like, I don't need to see that stuff. Like, I'd rather just go on Instagram and not see the entertainment side, just like friends and stuff.
Right, and I think that's so smart, and I'm so proud of you for your age to be, so you're years above, but to know that this is my passion, this is my road, this is my goal. I have to do what I feel is right for me, not to be deluded, because a couple things can happen. Like you said, looking at others, you can go, well, maybe I'm going to try and follow that, even maybe if it's uncomfortable, because, well, that's working for them, and
100%.
they have 1 million followers, so maybe I should do that. But if it's not authentically you, you're not going to gain more followers or stardom or have those feelings of greatness from that. The other side of it, too, is sometimes people go about their passion and their dreams like, oh, I'll show you, I can be better than this, and I can be... How about just being the best version of you? To me, that's why you're successful. That's why you're growing, and you're going to continue to grow, because it's about you and what matters to you, and to follow your passion and have fun with what you're doing.
Right, and I think before any of my videos did get big, I was constantly trying to do, I think, oh, that worked for this guy, let me try to do it in this style, like... But it worked for that guy because he was being himself in that for the most part. So once I started doing videos that were like more to me and were more authentic and original, that's when I saw numbers. Because other than that, I feel like people are like, yeah, this is funny, but it's no different from X, Y, and Z. So I'm glad I learned that like early on. And you see a lot of people kind of, I've had like video ideas stolen from me, which is like, annoying because they'll be like by bigger like names and stuff, and it's that whole like, what is it, imitation is the biggest form of flattery.
That's right.
So it's like, yeah, it's nice that a big comedian, or like I've even had a sketch of mine. I don't know how much, but it got heavily ripped on the James Corden show, which is big, but it's like, it's so hard because there's no point of contact. I can't reach out like, hey, did you guys take this? Because it was very similar. And it's just kind of like, well, it caught somebody's eye.
Right.
So that's...
Right. Well, and that's for me, that would be a little bit of a burning passion, or it sets you on fire to go, oh, well, wait a minute. If such and such saw my material and just took it, then just keep being true to me, because if it's getting attention and it's worthy, I would say that's the best compliment. If it's worthy for someone to steal, boom, then that means you have good material.
Right. Mentally it's good, but like you're like, yeah, but where's my paycheck? You know, there's a whole staff of writers and a production team, and you know, you see it aired, and you're like, oh, what? That's heavily my idea, but.
But this is so cool because in terms of focus, at that moment is, okay, am I going to focus all my time and energy to figure out how to take somebody down or do whatever it is you need to do to say, hey, that was mine and you stole it, or to take it and go, okay, note to self, I got some good stuff going here. I mean, so much so that I'm going to get back to the drawing board and I'm going to keep writing and I'm going to keep putting myself out there because it's working.
Yeah, that's what happened with that edible joke.
Share.
So that joke is kind of like, the funniest part about it is like a premise. Like the first line is, it's pretty much saying edibles don't kick in until you start talking shit about them. That kind of marinates from the audience. They start thinking, and then they're like, then it gets this really big laugh. And somebody that got posted on this big YouTube page, and then somebody just ripped it and just wrote out that punchline on Twitter, and it had like 500,000 shares and got crazy big, and then it got posted onto Instagram for all these like big pages, and like this guy, I like messaged him and I was like, yo, this is my joke, and he goes, and I could even pull it up. This was like the most frustrating week of my life. I was like, yo, that's my joke, and he goes, yeah, I know. I was like, you got this from here, and he goes, yeah, I know, because he was like a fan of mine. I was like, but if you're a fan, you would at least credit me.
Right, you're supposed to do at Trevor Wallace.
Right, exactly.
So at Trevor Wallace, however all the tagging, yes.
It was annoying because like people were like, oh, well, your jokes are funny enough to go viral, but now I don't do that joke anymore because because people are quicker to trust the internet than they are to trust somebody on stage. So if I said that on stage, somebody would go, that guy took that from the internet, not knowing that the internet took it from me. And that's what is frustrating, because it's like, I made it and I could do it, but then I'd also probably have to add a line after, like, okay, if you guys heard that before, it was from the internet, and then I'd have to write a joke about it getting, it's just like, I don't want to sell, like, and if I were to complain to, like, a veteran comedian, be like, my joke got stolen, he'd be like, happens to all of us, keep writing. And I'd be like, okay.
Good.
Simple as that. So it's like, the whole, cool, it got taken, it was funny enough, move on.
Right.
So.
Because they know that they stole it, right? There's no need for you to have to explain it.
Right.
Something that's already yours.
Yeah.
And the fact, if you have that and more and more and more, you're just going to keep having more and get better, and I love that.
Yeah, it was just tough because it was like my best joke at the time. I was so proud of it. And like every time, I probably only said it on stage like 10, 15 times. And every time I'd say it, it would get this like great like laughter and applause. And then when I saw it on Twitter, I got tagged a few times, and I was like, and every time I checked it, it would be up by the thousands of likes. And I was like, no. And like, it just sucked because this random high schooler, I mean, if I was 17 and I put up some random guy's joke and it did all these crazy numbers, I probably wouldn't delete it. So at the end of the day, I was like, I mean, he's just some random kid who now has all this attention. Like, he's not going to delete it to be a better person. Like, he's going to use that to walk into high school the next day and be like, oh, did you guys see my tweet yesterday? You know, so. And a bunch of people are tagging me in like the post, and like, this is Trevor, you know, tag him. So it's cool that I have like this little like army that's like, tag Trevor. You know, a lot of my stuff does get ripped online, and it's annoying, but that's the age we're in.
Right.
And it's really only annoying to the people who created it, because if you're just a random person who runs some account with 100,000 followers, they're like, yeah, but you gave me good views, I don't really care. But it's like, yeah, but I spent 10 hours editing it, 6 hours shooting it. Like, I put in so much work for this, and now it's just up online for people to comment, who made this? Right.
So in the faith of what's the good news, right? Because one of my terms, I always say, okay, what's the good in it? So I love what you do. You stop and go, all right, so what's the good news? Well, the good news is that somebody found it worthy enough to steal it, rip on it, and has all these followers. But then I love your integrity that you have. And again, to have integrity at your age, to stop and go, well, wait a minute. If I was 17, I would have probably have done the same thing. So you have that sense of, all right, I was a kid too, so that doesn't mean that it's all okay, but it's not gonna deflate you, and it's not gonna take you off focus now to get all mad and just rip on that, because you're not a one-hit wonder, so it doesn't all hang on the edible joke.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, I was dying laughing.
Yeah, and I mean,
I was trying to repeat it to people. It's not nearly as funny as when you say it.
But it is online, and hopefully, if people do the research, they'll know, like, oh, he did this, you know. But it took me a while to just sit back and be like, if I was 17, I wouldn't give a shit. Like, I would do it too. So, yeah, it happens. You know, you talk to any comedian who's been in the game for more than like 5 years, they're like, oh, yeah, I've had plenty of my stuff ripped.
Exactly. So I believe that you are in you're in an industry, so we can all have jobs and go to work and put ourselves out there and put ourselves in front of people and be fearful, right? To me, and maybe because it'd be my biggest fear, or maybe because I'm not funny, but you are putting yourself in one of the toughest positions, right? You're gonna walk out on stage and all these people staring at you going, all right, let's see what you got, right?
Yeah.
So congratulations. I find that to be the epitome of positive forward motion, because there's so many times you can get knocked down and knocked off and I don't want to do this anymore, it's too hard, but you keep moving on because you're following your passion. So I always like to end all of my positive forward motion interviews with, if there was one message that you could give listeners of a positive forward motion message, right, that they could just think about, whether they're trying out a new job or learning to play an instrument, whatever it may be, gone after their goals and dreams. One positive forward motion thought.
I would say trust your instinct and be patient. It's really like the biggest things that I learned is patience. I think the first year I lived in Los Angeles, I wanted everything so quick. I was like, why am I not getting this? Why don't I have an agent? Why am I not booking this? Why am I not? And then a year would go by and I would look back at the past year and be like, oh, I wasn't ready. And even like now when I have like my like team around me, like I was like, I don't even know if I was ready for them now. So kind of just timing and patience. And I think also be open to how you're going to get success in that field. Like whatever you want to do, don't be like, oh, if you want to be a chef, be like, I'm going to get recognized by this guy. I'm going to get on Chopped. I'm going to like be open to how you're going to get that, because how you're going to make your way to either fame or success is not going to be what you envision. So be open to different opportunities, because it'll lead to stuff. So I think, yeah.
So your passion, patience, and being open, and I would say that ties with saying yes. Like
pretty much at the end,
you get these opportunities, you can go, oh, well, think about it, because as you're thinking about it, somebody else just said yes. So you shared earlier that you had that opportunity, you said yes, and you have an end goal in mind, but as we always say, it's not a straight road. It's turning this way and this way. So I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you, and I'm so excited, and thank you for being so gracious with your time today.
Of course, thanks for having me on.
And if everybody, you have, so tell the listeners how they can find you.
Oh, they can find me. Well, first of all, I'm headlining the Ventura Harbor Comedy Club for the first time, January 17th, if that's coming out by then. But I've performed on that stage probably 70 times, but I've never headlined that show. I've just, I usually just go there to work out stuff. So it's like the first hometown show, so it's going to be really fun. Other than that, if you just type in Trevor Wallace, it should pop up. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram,
and it's
Twitter.
Trevor.
Yes.
Trevor, Wallace.
Yep.
Excellent. Headliner January 17th.
Tickets are on sale right now. They are.
Good.
If you just go to Ventura Harbor or VC Comedy Club, I believe. You type it in Ventura Harbor Comedy Club, you'll see it. It's a Thursday night. It's gonna be great. I'm just gonna bring down like my favorite LA comedians. So that's cool about me headlining shows. I get to pick the lineup. So I'm just gonna bring my closest friends who are just hilarious.
There you go. Well, again, thank you so much. Keep up the positive forward motion. Super proud of you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed today's message as much as I did. And wow, Trevor's message of positive forward motion sure is worth repeating. So here you go. Trust your instinct, be patient, and be open to how you're going to get your successes, because the road to success is not always what you envisioned. Thank you so much for listening, and please remember to rate, review, and share, and keep up the positive forward motion.